was on TikTok, and as you know, Miss Fabulous gets into arguments with a lot of people. A lot of people. A lot of people is out for her blood. A lot of people takes things personally. Yeah, she's not the greatest. No, she's not. But um, a lady took it really far. Now, what she did, she put Miss Fabulous's picture and her baby picture in a coffin. In a coffin. And then she went to the graveyard and she took the baby, Miss Fabulous. Oh, I've got to turn off the camera because it's annoying me. And she took Miss Fabulous, his picture, and the baby picture to the cemetery. And she buried it. And she say what she said, but what she said was so disturbing. Now, Miss Fabulous has had a run-in with this lady before, mind you. And to me, even if you are doing it as a skits or a back and forth Pele in social media, there is certain lines that you don't cross. Now, I would have got the video and repost it, but then I thought, no. That's why I just took a picture of it. Now, to me, there's no need to go that length of time or to do that because it's things have a way of bouncing back, have a way of bouncing back and hit you between the eyes, and especially me us West Indians, when we grow up in certain things and seen certain things happening uh, as we are growing up, well, we know obeah is one of the things that goes on in the household. Yeah, when people do your children and do this and do that, later on it comes back and it gets them later on. Now, this lady literally went down to the cemetery, to the graveyard, right? It wasn't like okay, historical situation. She went down, she take a picture of Renee, put Renee in a coffin. She did put like a collage of the baby. Right now, Miracle is innocent in all of this. Right, it doesn't matter whether people's doing skits or whatever. Miracle is still a baby. She's innocent. She ain't done nobody none. She's just a baby at the end of the day. And when you're doing stuff to somebody, right, you have to make sure that you put one hole for yourself too. And really, sometimes things like this have this thing where it will just balance itself out because the universe is moving fast and everything's moving fast and everything's happening fast, right? At a fast pace. So by you doing that, if she thinks that this is not going to get on dealt with or it's not going to get balanced out because it will balance out later on. Very enough, right? You're doing it for the skits because you know they do skits over there and all sorts of things, but it's ridiculous. Some of the people that spoke about it was not impressed. They even said that how that deserves, what you know, a hit or whatever, whatever, right? But in time, people get what they shell out, basically. And when you do that, you will make sure when it comes back to your family, because well, it doesn't necessarily touch you, but it touch your the next generation. And people don't think about these things, right? So, um, yeah, that was a bit weird, a bit crazy, and a bit, you know, a bit, you know, there's certain lines you don't cross, right? And then and then you want to find out her name and all this stuff, right? From when I've been on the app, this lady does seem a little bit obsessive with Miss Fabulous, to be honest. She does. She does. Miss Fabulous does a lot of crazy things on the YouTube. She's told all her family's business and all that stuff. And people tend, I think what happens is when you talk about stuff, your business on that particular app, they go and they use it against you, right? So some people just go on there, post their thing, come off, right? That's how some people do, or do whatever they're doing, post up their products, whatever they're doing. But some people take things too far. And when you take things too far, it does never end good. It doesn't end good. And and it's quite disturbing that you will put this on thingy. Fair enough, like there's people like that on that app who show all sorts of stuff and all that. But for you to do that, especially to an innocent baby that Renee tried for ages to get pregnant, and she had miscarriages and all sorts of things. That's why she called the baby Miracle. The baby's called Miracle for a reason. It doesn't matter what beef people have with her, but when it goes to her child now, it's different. So I might post up some of what they said about it and how some people feel about it, because this is how the internet goes a bit crazy on certain stuff. It's all well, like if you're just covering them, whatever, doing content, whatever. But when it goes over the lines, when it blurs the lines to you are going to actually do something, then you're filming yourself. Then you're singing a gospel song, like whatever. And I'm just like, what? It's just so anyway. Sometimes, right, sometimes there is a lot of I don't know, right? You don't know, like I always say to people, you don't know who's on the other side of the device. That is a true thing. You don't know who's on the other side of the device. And I feel like maybe TikTok needs to deal with certain stuff and not have certain stuff there and have stricter guidelines, because it gets a bit crazy over there. It gets a bit crazy and it gets very personal, and then it gets to a certain level. It's all well just to look and but then when it gets a bit crazy, right? Because everything she said, what she said, and I'm not going to repeat it, if that does happen to that little girl, right? You are very that she is a wicked lady. She's wicked if she says it. And so and in the comments they were saying how it was very dark, because it's very dark that you would do that, right? So, like I said, in the Caribbean culture, there is people who do these things on a regular. They do these things on a regular, um, and sometimes it doesn't always work out good because the third or fourth generation gets touched, and uh, it doesn't end well. It doesn't end well in no long shot. And um, yeah, that's what I want to say on that side. I don't on the subject. I just thought I'll bring it. I'm gonna put the thumbnail so you can see kind of what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you know about Miss Fabulous, then you know what I'm talking about. If you know what's going on over there, then you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes I can't go into detail on here about every little thing, but it is crazy. So anybody who's doing these things, and then you're putting the baby on a paper, you're putting the Miss Fabulous in a coffin, then you're doing the baby in the coffin with her. That's just crazy. That's not on. So with that said, I'm gonna come off and I'll see you later. Take care. Bye.